and welcome. Today, my guest is Dr. Rujuta Matapurkar, who has 25 years of experience through banking, academia, and is now a dynamic corporate trainer. She is a PhD in Organizational Behaviour from IIT Bombay, and the subject on which she did it was focusing on work-life enrichment and emotional regulation. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mandeep. Thank you for having me here. I'm so delighted and excited to be part of it. So thank you for having me.
I'm so glad that we reconnected on the Women's Day event. And after that, there was no looking back. We realized that we have lots of things that we share, including an interest in academia.
That's true. Yes, that's something.
So, to begin with, Rujuta, the question which came to my mind is that what is the personal and professional background that led you to do a PhD?
Oh, so it's an interesting one. Of course, you have heard, and I've also heard in some interviews that mothers have a huge influence on daughters, right? My mom has a doctorate. She has a doctorate in Sanskrit literature. And again, she started when I was in like maybe third, fourth. So I've seen her, restart her journey again. And that was always something at back of my mind that, you want to be like your mom. I wanted to be like my dad. So I went and had engineering degree and stuff. Wow. And then I always thought that, I should be like my mom. And then that was always at the back of the mind. And when I decided that, I want to take a break from my career and focus on my kids, I thought this is a wonderful opportunity to, pursue that dream as well, because it gives me more time to be with my kids and also pursue my personal ambitions. So, of course, that was the reason why I started.
So why organizational behavior? You were a banker and suddenly you picked up a subject which is obviously close to my heart. But how come?
Yeah, right. As we say, banking is all about people, relations, and, basically people management as we grow in the organization. And as you must have also realized, people are always struggling, how is it that work-life balance, that topic came up from this, that everybody is always finding it challenging. People in different stages of life, they're wanting to balance. And it's something that goes on. So when I decided to go in for PhD, I was advised by a mentor saying that, you should pick up something that is very close to your heart, right? Absolutely. And again, since I was going through that experience wherein I had to really make a choice, I thought between, having a full-time career, which I really worked hard for, or being a parent, So I thought this something is really, I'm living something. So I would want to really study.
Tell me, because these are very heavy terms, and I would like all the people who are listening to us to understand this, that what are the key findings of your study?
So the focus of my study was on work-life enrichment. It's a term which we use a lot in academia, and it's a positive kind of a term rather than saying conflict or, balancing. Somehow, again, it feels like, you have to give up something to, get something. But work-life enrichment talks about how does your professional life help your personal life and the other way around. So it actually talks about the merits or benefits of engaging in multiple roles. So that is what the basic concept was. And it is very much in line today. Everybody is talking about it. I mean, of course, we have had this discussion, about kids whose mothers are working, not working. What is it that they gain or, things like that. So that was the topic which I thought. And the study I again focused on, it was on emotional regulation. Emotions are very important. Now people are willing to accept that you can't separate them from human beings. If we have individuals and employees who are coming to work, of course, it comes with what they're feeling, how they're dealing with it. So it was an interesting aspect, I thought, to see, does it change? So the origin of that was like, when we have similar organization policies, everybody has access to the same policies. We have similar backgrounds wherein family backgrounds, education backgrounds, still some people find it easier to, derive benefit from both the roles, and some people still struggle, though they have access to the same kind of resources. So that was individual differences, as we call it. So that was the trigger as to finding out, how is it that it really affects? So what is it that is making a difference when somebody is able to benefit and somebody is still finding it very challenging? So my research did show that emotional regulation does have an impact on your experience. How you will experience the enrichment depends a lot on how well you can regulate your emotions. So
Very well said. And this is something that, I mean, I must share with you that we all, when we are hiring, there's a typical question which comes in asking actually people and saying, what's your family background, right? And a lot of people just think that it is all about finding out what does the mother do and the father do. Yes, when you are going for a kindergarten interview, it is about usually that you expect that the kind of communication, relationships that parents have, how well adjusted the kid becomes tomorrow in society, or in a way it's good to know about a family background because you come to know about their education level, their income levels, etc., etc. But when you are doing something like this is why thousands of women across the world actually take off from their work and spend time, because when you want a child well adjusted in society, you would want to know what kind of a family background they come from. And the early years are very important in psychology, as you know, and even later on to for the way they do.
Yeah, yeah. First 5 years they say are very, very,
Exactly.
yeah.
So I'm not surprised at all these things that you did. But what was interesting for me when I studied your abstract was about the emotional regulation, because it talked about positive and negative feelings. It's also talked about the mood swings and everything else. And I think today, when we are talking about Gen Z and Gen Alpha coming, I think never before has it been so important. Then your study was very, very timely because it is throwing up all of these things. But I still feel that at least the BFSI sector, with from where both of us come, still do not appreciate some of these softer things which organizations need to know and provide support to employees, as you call, with low emotional regulation.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, somebody who is not able to control, the response to what they're feeling.
Feeling,
So
yes.
yes, we need to be.
Because
Maybe it is because we have a huge workforce many times, and we are very people centric industry. So we probably are a little slow on the offtake, but I'm sure when it reaches there, it's going to be there for everyone
I
to
think that's what
enjoy.
makes good managers and not so good managers, because good managers know where to support and saying, he's okay, he's a little anxious and needs to be handheld a little bit. Okay, my one question is that did you find any gender differences in terms of how women react to it? Was it at all a subject of your study?
Okay, so some part of the first study that I did, it was on couples.
Mhm.
So that was the study that we did. And though the overall thesis was not focusing on the gender differences, the initial study, which I did pilot, as we call it, which was a qualitative study, wherein I went and interviewed a lot of couples, wherein both husband, wife are working. They have careers. So not just working, they have active careers wherein they are invested in that. So yes, gender difference did come a lot, and it did matter that spousal support came out as a very, very strong indicator as to women are. I mean, of course, there are people who are doing the job because they need the money. That is one factor. Everybody needs that, but being able to focus on career, prioritize it. It was very clearly evident that wherever the spouses were supportive, there the women were driving joy. I mean, they're deriving joy, the
Oh,
enrichment that
yeah,
we
yeah,
call.
yeah, that's true.
So that
That's
was, yeah, where spouses were probably proud of their,
yeah.
wives, that they were supporting equally in childcare. Yeah, so that
I
was
think
definitely evident.
what we know instinctively after decades of careers, your
Absolutely,
PhD has shown it to
absolutely.
us again.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. Very true.
Tell me, when you go deeper into it and we talk about work-life enrichment, did you see about the kind of support that organizations ought to be doing? Did you have any suggestions?
So if you come to think of it, over the years, organizations have done a lot. So in initial years there were no crashes, there was no understanding of fact that you have multiple responsibilities at home, and of course now organizations have come up with so many policies that can actually be taken. For example, if I have to take an example, it could be 6 months maternity leave. Now mostly all the organizations give. Sometimes what is seen is that just having those policies doesn't help, because people who are actually availing those benefits, are they viewed the same way, or are they viewed with a different lens? And it is something which is very subjective. Yeah, and
Yes.
at times, even though the policies are there, which are, because organizations are very well aware now, because we are Gen Z workforce, and we have Google, who's probably set a standard as to what all you can offer employees at workplace.
That's true.
But do all organizations view all those people equally, or do we still have that thing in mind? Oh,
Yeah,
somebody is taken a longer leave, or have somebody, even if men want to take leave for, say, paternity leave or taking
absolutely.
care, elderly care, do we view it the same? So at times that affects. So what came out was, again, supervisor support is also very important. How your supervisor reviews it will decide whether you will avail that policy or not, though it is available, which
Yeah.
is very interesting. Again, human behavior, you know.
I guess
So
so. We always talk about it that way, yeah. But statutorily now there is 6 months of leave. But when you and I were there back, there was 3 months, and you could extend it up to 3 months and take a sabbatical or something like that. And yes, everyone wanted to say that I came back in 3 months' time, whether you have support at home or not.
yeah, because it was
Yeah.
viewed somewhere as a, you prioritize work as a better thing in a
Yeah.
way. So that's something which is undercurrent, or I don't know.
Better, I think women don't want to lose out. And that's a favorite question women ask, that if I take time out and I come, why do I tend to lose out my rating, my things like that, my promotions? But my answer to that is usually that you need to balance it. At some point in time, you need to say that the joy that I'm holding in my hand, which is the cutest little produce that I have in a baby, that shouldn't equal that 6 months of rating or something like that. You make up in
It's
long
such a
run.
blessing. Again, that was also part of my, finding out that, for each person it is different. Because somebody might feel it, oh my god, it is not worth it at all. I mean, rarely hypothetically, but mostly all women and mothers are very happy to have a child. But of course, they feel that, I mean, why does my husband not have to pay that price in career where we are equally, benefiting or deriving joy out of this moment? So yeah, for each one it's different, and that is the understanding that even at work, when you are a manager, for each of your employees, this is going to be something different. It's not going to be the same thing for each one. Somebody might really identify more with work identity and they're okay, and somebody might not, so they probably would want to take a back seat and they would want to focus more on other roles. So individual differences, again, that is where it matters, that it is different
At the
for
end of
different.
at the end of every study, you come out with the fact that there is so much more to figure out. If you had the time and if you knew what you wanted to do, is there something that that I'm using this, but what if I could have researched this more, and this is the way it is headed? Was it any aspect which you feel?
Absolutely. So academics per se is not the area that I want to get into, because my heart lies in banking and
Yeah.
being with people. So that is something that in industry or this area I want to work. But the research which showed that a lot of data which I had, it of course mattered. There's some data that we collected about whether your parents or in-laws stay with you. And if your in-laws are staying with you, how is your experience of work? If your parents are staying with you, how is your experience of work? So that is something that I thought was very interesting. If I would get a inclination to ever get into academics, I would definitely want to look at that
Caregiving,
aspect.
yeah, I'm very glad you mentioned that, because caregiving is a very different thing, and a lot of people who have a couple of decades of experience have parents who are reaching that age group where we all have responsibilities, and I think that obviously comes into a question as to how, and again, so spousal support is very important in that, because
Correct.
how you are catering to it and what kind of help do you have. You've just said it, and that happens. So what
And
next,
again,
Rujita?
so now I am into, as you said, I'm into training, and I'm very excited to use what I've learned, through research on emotional regulation, work-life balance. How do we make peace with understanding my own priorities, And as we said, it is different experience for each one. So making people probably understand, what their priorities is by discussing or helping them, so that they can also enjoy this feeling of, I'm doing both things and both things are helping me. Rather than feeling guilty about it, rather than feeling that am I missing out on something, should I be doing this or not? So that is something that I really want to get into. So help leaders, help their team members, and help managers, and help people who have just joined, or maybe people who are in the middle of their career and wondering what to do. I want to help everybody and see if I can make a positive difference and
I'm
make
sure
them
you will. I'm sure you
journey.
will. That is there. I wanted to tell you that one aspect, if I remember, was about people, with I think it's a level of knowledge as well. The kids who go to the brightest of schools know a lot, most are self-aware, self-assured. They can tend to have, not all the time, can tend to have higher emotional regulation. And when they do that, they can actually find issues with their work environment and they're
Right.
managing the thing. They can get critical of it, but they mask that emotional regulation because they want to. And you have mentioned it somewhere in your study about, I think I went through it 2, 3 times. I should assure you, because there is so much to get out of the abstract itself. And I was just seeing that they can tend to not enjoy. They just want an environment in which is challenging for them. And if it is little base level for everybody, so the brighter the kids, they don't tend to take it very well, and they tend to mask it. And I
Yeah,
thought,
so more aware probably there of emotions,
yes.
So our generation probably was brought up thinking that it is okay to, you just have to do something because you've got to do something. You've got to have a career and there's a price to pay. Now the new generation doesn't agree that why should there be a price to pay? And if I'm not comfortable with something, I mean, I'm sure you heard it enough number of times about Gen Z workforce, but again, they're very clear. They're aware about what they're feeling. They don't mind expressing it, though we don't like it because you're not used to it. Organizations don't like it because it definitely at times can be inconvenience for them. But yes, I think the future lies in understanding that, what emotions are, understanding that everybody has them. You can't separate them, leave them behind. You just learn to be able to aware and regulate them to your benefit. So that you can make
I really hope, Rujuta, that you will keep sharing these as part of our web platform. But before you go, I would definitely want to know, what is your success mantra?
What I have learned after leaving, so when I was in the bank, I thought I've worked already for so many years, right? I mean, what new can happen? At times you feel you just go keep on doing the same thing more and more. But after changing a careers like this, I think the sky is the limit. And I feel I'm in the best era because as women, when you're done with childcare and then you have, you've figured out what you want to finally do. I think that is the thing. You have to rediscover yourself. Don't give up. Yeah, it is okay to take a step back if you have to. But yes, if you want something, you should go for it. As they say, future is women, so go for it.
Yes, I think they're well said very much. And I think we have all lots of women around us and we have a beautiful community. And each one of us is pushing our boundaries and to emerge stronger in whatever we feel is we want to accomplish in life. I wish you the very best, Rujuta. And thank you so much for coming and sharing some of your views on work-life enrichment and emotional regulation. I shall definitely catch that study of yours for future questions. This was very nice. Thank you so much.
And
Thanks a
it's
lot.
been wonderful, Mandeep. As you know, you've always been an inspiration. So wonderful to be there with you in the WIP also and here also. Thank you for this opportunity.
You're
I'm
most
loving it.
I'm glad. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.